Hey Dylan, thanks for taking my call.
Hey Dylan, big fan of the show.
Huge fan of the show, love what you're doing.
Such a big fan of the show. I'm so glad to have a minute of your time.
Hi, Dylan. It's Gavin.
Dude, Dylan.
Look, I cannot help you. I'm sorry. It's not hard to understand, okay? So here's my thought. You would be crazy to think that.
Yo, welcome in to Hey Dylan. So glad to be back here in California, in quarantine, coming to you. We got a great show for you today. Got some cool little segments, cool phone calls that are taking place. Got a lot of that I've been watching on television. A few things that just ended. You're probably wondering, Dylan, what is on your head? And if you're listening to audio, you're probably wondering, Dylan, I didn't know something was on your head. Well, right here on my head is a buff from the show Survivor. All right, Survivor finished its 40th season. Survivor Winners at War, and we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give a call to my good friend Zach, and then after that, we got a little segment of Real Talk where we are going to be talking about another thing that ended, and that was The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. We're bringing in Shay Real yet again to talk about The Last Dance as well as some other things. Some good conversations ahead here where I can give my takes, because I know you guys need them, like, especially at a time like this. Like, again, the world especially now needs a lot of things, so the best I can do is give my thoughts, my opinions, and bring in some people who've got some great opinions. So with that, we're going to start talking Survivor with my good friend, Zach.
It's the biggest battle in Survivor history. 20 returning winners.
Coming back out here, I can feel my blood starting to rise.
It's like the Super Bowl, 20 years in the making. I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. It is a miracle that I'm sitting here today.
I met my wife on Survivor. We have 4 daughters. It'd be really messed up if they have to see Daddy vote Mama off.
Survivor's ready. Go!
Well, last week, we saw the finale of an epic season of Survivor Winners at War, and I have a very special guest today on the show to help me recap it and decide, was it the greatest season in Survivor history? Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for the funny, the talented, the great Zach Zoda. Zach, welcome into the Dylan Berry Network.
Oh, thank you. Great introduction. That's definitely one of the best introductions I've ever gotten in my life. So
yeah, it's true.
Off to a good start.
Zach, you and I connected on Survivor last summer. I think it was. We were coworkers, and I saw you were following one Baylor Wilson from Survivor Blood vs. Water 2. I forget. Oh, was that San Juan del Sur? Yes,
season 29.
A great season. I followed Baylor Wilson Quality because season. I fell in love with her. I followed her, and I saw Zach Zoda follows her, and I'm like, there's no, unless he knows her, this guy must be a Survivor fan. You don't. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't.
So, process of elimination.
Yeah, and from then on, you became one of the people that I texted more than anyone, because I went on my little Survivor binge watching almost every season to prepare for this season, Survivor Winners at War, where they had 20 winners of the 38 winners come on the island to battle it out, to really find out who the winner, who the sole survivor is, the best, or the king or the queen, as they're saying now. Mm-hmm. Zach, did this season live up to your expectations? What were you thinking going into it, I guess?
I would say in a lot of ways, like by and large, you can get into a lot of like nitpicky things about, where Survivor has gone and kind of the development of the game and production's involvement and all of that. But I would say by and large, as a diehard Survivor fan, this season 40 winter season, it ultimately delivered on many levels that I was hoping it would, that I expected it to. Kind of what I expected to see that I ended up getting is, very fast-paced strategic play. I think, that's going to be kind of something to be expected with any all returner season, that the phase where people are kind of feeling out how they like to play the game and their strategy and, just kind of how it works. That phase is, that's in the past. That's that's already been done by all of these people. They've already played the game. They have a mindset going into it, based on that.
And
so
and it really ended up being a season where the show kind of expected you to know everybody. Like, it wasn't going to. There were a few little callbacks to their own seasons, but they didn't. Yeah. Like, usually with every season of Survivor, the first episode is you're getting to know each person. It's not much strategy, but it's all just like, oh, you're learning who's crazy, who's funny, who's a threat, all this stuff. But right in this game, everyone's a threat, everyone's interesting, everyone has a backstory, and we know it.
Especially, this time, you have something like Survivor Second Chances, where the theme is everybody's kind of coming in trying to right the wrong from the first time they played the game and whatever went wrong. This time, everybody has already won the game. Everybody's already, gone all the way and done it in their own way, So it was, that's what made this season unique in a lot of ways. That for a lot of these people, obviously some of them excluded, but for a good portion of these people, they've never been voted out. They've never lost Survivor, you know? So that really made this season unique in that way. And like you said, everybody's a threat. Everybody's gotten to the end before. Everybody knows how to do that. So, I think it kind of started coming down to who, out of all of these threats, who's the biggest threat, you know?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. With this season did live up to it, but I wouldn't have said that 3 weeks in or the first 4 weeks, because there was the whole old school, new school kind of thing happening, and that was a bummer. And I know a lot of people tuned in because they're like, "Oh, I know Boston Rob," and I remember Poverty when I watched like all those years ago, and they come back. I didn't like that gameplay, and that was like to me a bummer, and kind of just like, and the whole poker thing was weird, the poker alliance. But really, man, towards the end, like Merge On, it was Survivor, and it was flip and flopping, and we could talk about the winner and his path to glory, but yeah, it really did turn around, and the epic 3-hour finale was juicy and wonderful. I wish every episode was at least an hour and a half to 2 hours. Especially during pandemic times.
That is something that I think the fan base has been clamoring for quite some time, is 90-minute episodes, and
this would have been the time,
especially if you're going to have something like Edge of Extinction that's going to take so much time as it is, which, well, I
want to get to that too, because like this isn't a season of Survivor that I would tell people, hey, go watch this one first, because
absolutely not.
With this season, there were so many new things, which of course I'm always for trying new things. Survivor's pretty good at that, of like, we're going to try something, and if that doesn't work, we're not going to go back to it, or we're going to keep doing it. That being said, how do you feel now? We've had 2 seasons of Extinction, and both really the endings revolved around extinction, and it did play a big factor in who ended up winning both ways. And then I want to hear what you think of the tokens, because that was interesting, but maybe I think that's where it failed. Like we didn't get enough time, because I would have loved to see them buy their stuff or trade, because we kind of saw bits and pieces of it, but in the end, it to me wasn't quite enough. I'm sure it did play a bigger role, and of course Natalie coming in with 18 or however many she had.
However many she had,
so
she had like a million.
I guess, what do you think of Extinction at this point, 2 seasons in, how it played a factor, and then a little bit about the fire tokens?
Overall, I'm pretty against the Edge of Extinction. I really would be totally fine with it not coming back. I think for this season in particular, it ended up kind of being kind of a double-edged sword in terms of, I really don't like any twist that I feel like fundamentally changes the game. Right. And as we saw in the first Edge of Extinction season, the season 38, with Chris Underwood getting voted out on whatever it was, day 12, and sitting on Extinction for the rest of the pre-merge, all of the post-merge, getting back in at the final 5, making it final 6 with him and winning the game.
Yeah.
in essence, it undermines a lot of what Survivor is about. First off, I mean, I feel like any twist that potentially brings people back into the game once they've been voted out kind of undermines, the fact that for the first however many 20 seasons, 21 seasons of Survivor, kind of the main guiding driving force of the game is, you get voted out, you're done. Like, that's it. You go home. And, I mean, you can kind of get into when, Redemption Island originally popped up and kind of, what their true intentions behind that were, whether it be, trying to help Rob or Tyson or Coach or whoever was playing on that season get to the end.
Yeah.
But, it allows a person the potential to get back in at the end of the game without having to have voted out anybody on the jury, which is kind of a key part of the game.
Yep.
And, also from a viewership standpoint, the potential of, Natalie coming back in and winning this season, it would have just completely rendered all of that awesome, amazing gameplay that we saw all season completely irrelevant to the ending of the game, which is not satisfying as, from a narrative standpoint. It's just not Survivor to me. I don't know.
No, yeah, I'm with you, and I think the tokens a little bit played into, like, okay, so if you're on Extinction, you have a little bit of a strategy, and there are things to do there to where it can build a resume of sorts, because that's, the phrase that gets thrown around at the finale of Survivor is, how's your resume? And Natalie was the best, clearly, on Extinction, but like Rob said, if she was going to win, she had to play a perfect game when she got back, and that was doing what Chris did in Edge of Extinction, season 38, which was give up immunity to prove he could take out Rick Devens, who was the clear winner. If Rick got through, he was going to win that season, it's fair to say. Which, shout out Rick Devens. We need to get him back. And, she just kind of didn't. Getting down to the end there. But so you're anti-extinction.
I'm anti-extinction at this point.
It's just too much.
I just don't want to see it again. But from the other side, kind of how I said it was a double-edged sword on this season in particular. It was kind of nice the fact that Ethan or Tyson or whoever these old school players still got to be on our TVs all season.
100%.
That was something that was good, especially, with the absolute massacre that we saw of the old school players in the game. I was really disappointed by that. I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of the new school players, but, part of the excitement, part of the anticipation of the season was, getting to see somebody like Ethan or Amber or Danny, these people that we haven't seen in over a decade play Survivor come back and play again, so much later in life. That was a big draw of what made this season feel so exciting. And so that was kind of a nice aspect of it. But now that we're done with this, now that it's all over, I would say let's go back. Let's not do Extinction. Or if you really feel the need to do Extinction, do it to the merge and end it at the merge. Keep the jury.
I like that.
Normal merge jury. Because somebody getting back into the game at the merge, if they end up going to the end, that doesn't feel as they're still going to have to do a lot to get there. They're still going to have to make all the normal moves that a normal Survivor winner would have to do. So, if they wanted to retool it like that, that might be something I'd be a little more okay with. But at this point, I think they should just kind of ditch that and, leave it be.
Yeah. Now, the winner of Survivor, which it's been out for a week now, it was Tony. Tony was which is funny because you and I bonded over Tony when I first watched that season. That was an exciting one to talk to you about at work because truly his season, and there are a few others. I think Kim was a pretty dominant winner too in terms of she had her hand over the game the whole way through. Tony he played a madman's game in the season he won. And
I mean,
to see him win now is huge.
Really a game, a winner game that kind of stands by itself. Nobody has, I mean, he kind of duplicated it this time in a way, but nobody has really kind of Tony's winter game, especially in Kagion, his first season, is kind of organized chaos. He's kind of controlling the game, but in a way, you have, like you mentioned, Kim Spradlin. When she had her first season that she won, the game was set. I mean, there was not a bunch of chaos. It was pretty much Kim had all her ducks in a row, and she just took them all the way to the end. But yeah, I mean, Tony's one of my favorite characters on Survivor.
100%.
To me, he is the ultimate example of, in terms of Survivor, people casting on Survivor, a lot of times you have great players and then you have great characters. And then there's kind of a small handful of people that you could describe as both.
Right.
And Tony's kind of the ultimate example of that. So going into this season, I had full expectations that Tony was dead in the water. I mean, because we saw that, when he came back for Game Changers, he clearly wasn't really willing to shift the way he approached the game, and kind of tried to play this chaos game from the very beginning, and the returning cast members just weren't going to put up with that.
Yeah.
So clearly he had a different idea going into this time, and he laid low just long enough to get far enough to where he could go into Tony mode, and be climbing up into Spy Nest and.
Spy Nest, dude. Spy Nest. Spy Swamp has to be next, right? That's the only way to go.
He's gonna have to build a submarine or something next season if it comes
Spy
back.
underwater, like scuba. It's gonna have to happen.
But so I was very pleased with the fact that he ended up making it all the way to the end of winning, and didn't ever imagine that would be something that could ever happen. That was. So hats off to him. I honestly think he has quite the claim to say he's the greatest to ever play the game. I mean, obviously he's one of two people that have won twice at this point, and you could get into, who's better between the two of them. But I certainly am going to say Tony.
Yeah. I mean, this was his season through and through. Like, he stayed chill at the beginning. Like, Sandra was one that was not chill at the beginning. Rob was not chill. At least in the edits, they showed that, remember, Rob wouldn't let them leave camp. And then Sandra was in on every conversation. Tony, he sat back for a while, but it wasn't really until the merge where Tony started really making good moves and then winning immunity a bunch of times. And I was thinking, man, he won 3 in a row. And he has an idol. They got to flush that soon, or they got to twist. I was shocked with Sarah's loyalty to him to go so deep. And even when Natalie got back from Extinction and first said, yo, everyone's voting for Tony. And of course, Sarah came out and spoke on how she thought that was ridiculous and not fair. But I think as a viewer, I think all of us, I was dumbfounded that at 7, 6, 5, 6, no one even thought Tony. Tony was never thought.
Well, and Tony, Tony has, in a way, he's really good at using an idol beyond just saving himself for 1 week. Because he uses the power of people knowing that he has this idol. They're like, well, we don't even have the votes to try to flush it out, so there's no point in even trying. So he doesn't even have to play the idol because he's never even targeted.
Yeah.
And then, he makes it all the way to the end. Too late.
Now, the finale was pretty wild. We talked a little bit about Natalie coming off of Extinction. Ended up being Michelle, Natalie, and Tony in the final 3, which I do want to shout out Michelle, man. She had maybe one of the best storylines in the in the season 2. They really did clearly want to highlight her as someone who, her season winning, she got a lot of flack. I personally give her flack for that first season that she won. She's someone that I always said I didn't know who she was until we were down to 5 people left. Because someone like Ty dominated that season. He was the one getting all the confessionals, all the storylines were going through him. And, Aubrey, that was her season as well. For Michelle to come back and to have the season she had where she won immunities, she was in the conversation. She had her back against a wall. To me, that's why I thought she'd get a vote. Were you shocked that she didn't? Or was it just that Tony was too dominant? Like, it seemed
Yeah.
like the jury was pretty set on, like, we got to give this to the guy who deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that really was a big part of it. But I think it really should be said that Michelle is not, in this case, I feel personally, not your typical third place, 0 votes at
Yes.
final tribal council.
100%.
She was in no way a goat to take to the end.
Yeah.
I mean, she was on the bottom the entire game.
Yeah.
And really made some moves to save herself and get to the end. And I don't, she wasn't taken to the end. She got to the end. I think that's really an important distinction to be made. So, and also at this point now, she is the only multi-time Survivor player to make it to the end without getting voted out.
Wow. Yeah.
Except for a couple people who quit. We don't count them, but pretty much.
And then it ended up being what of the 16 votes, it was 12 for Tony, 4 for Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta wonder with those 4 that voted Natalie, even with the 12 that voted Tony, when they rewatch the season and they're taken out of it, and because you could tell it was like that rainy tribal council. A lot of these people, when it ended, they were done with it because it took a lot for them to come out and do Survivor again.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Do you think when they rewatch it that they might rethink things of like, oh wow, this edit clearly shows that Tony should have won, but also Natalie fought for the spot.
I'm trying to remember who voted for Natalie.
I believe it was Parv and
I remember Parvati and Tyson both did.
Yeah, Parv, and then Ethan I think did as well. But I think it was like an adversity.
I would think most of those people probably don't regret that. I think those votes were kind of based on personal bond. I mean, they kind of highlighted that Tyson and Natalie had, really kind of gotten close, and same with Natalie and Parvati. So I think they were going to vote for, Natalie regardless. And, that's another thing. I mean, she had the benefit of doing that. She got to bond with all the jury members for the entire time. Something else that kind of makes Extinction kind of suck the way it was this season, especially with the fire tokens and being able to purchase advantages in the final challenge. Getting voted out first ended up being an advantage to Natalie.
Yeah.
She had a huge advantage in the challenge, being able to buy all these advantages, as opposed to somebody like Jeremy or Nick, who just got voted out and is now going to have no chance in this challenge because they haven't been on Extinction long enough to earn any,
right.
Pro spot.
Yeah, that's another backside of it. Do you think, was there anyone that if they came off Extinction, they would have been more a threat to Tony? Like, because to me, when they showed Tyson and Natalie both having the idols on Extinction, I was thinking, oh shoot, if Tyson gets off Extinction again and has a chance at it again, I'm like, dude, Tyson could come for that title. If he plays his cards right, if he's not sitting next to Tony. I really think whoever was not sitting next to Tony could have had a really great chance of doing it. But to me, it was Tyson. I was like, even Rob probably wouldn't have deserved it. To me, Tyson, or one of the other recent ones of like Jeremy or someone like that. But gosh. You got to be thinking, too, my guy Nick, man, I was pulling for Nick the whole time. Poor guy. Got a bad edit.
Nick had it was not a great season for Nick, which...
Stepping down for peanut butter, bro. Come on. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yeah, that very questionable decisions on everybody who did that.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Very, very... This was also a weird season, too, just thinking about that now. Not a lot of rewards, They had a few meals and whatnot, but... That's just not traditional Survivor.
I think it's mainly the fact that they just don't have time to fit in reward challenges.
Yeah.
It's because we have this edge of Extinction. And, I honestly, what I would like to see with Survivor moving forward, I think they need to do less of these new
things,
these new gameplay aspects. I mean, all right, if you want to do something like Ghost Island or Island of the Idols, I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of that, but if you have to have some conceit for every new season, make it something like that that can be quick, that's just with one individual person, not a huge quarter to a third of the episode worth of time, devoted to this thing that's really not that interesting and really not what people watch Survivor for,
Yeah, I agree. And I actually had a friend recently was like, dude, I see you're posting about Survivor all the time. I kind of want to jump in. Like, where should I go? And I told him, dude, watch season 37, my favorite season of Survivor, David versus Goliath. Because to me, that's a straightforward one. There's no extra stuff there. I mean, it's the theme. They used to always have themes, right? I mean, heroes versus, what hustlers and all that stuff. This is David versus Goliath. And you got some great characters in that season, great tribal councils.
It's a very well edited season. It's that's a criticism with a lot of modern seasons of Survivor. Like you have a season like the season right before Ghost Island that is just really lopsided editing. I mean, maybe 2 or 3 people that are focused on the whole season.
It's a great, it's one where the finale is so satisfying, because sometimes that's the hard part for me, is like the finale is never satisfying for me, but everything else is, and maybe it's because usually in Survivor the best player kind of doesn't win, like there's so many great Survivor players that have never won, like Ozzy or Joe. Another shout out, Rick Devens, right? I mean,
Rick Devens.
Gosh, I gotta give it to Rick, but that's where it takes me. And I guess going forward, which I saw an article today, Jeff Probst has big plans to hope to be like taping in like August. He wants to be filming this stuff. And if Dana White can pull off Fight Island, Jeff Probst better pull off whatever. You can call it Fight Island, Survivor Fight Island. I want to see that.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah,
they'll figure it out. And I did notice that CBS came out with their big announcement yesterday of their fall television schedule and everything that they have.
Yeah. And
Survivor season 41 is on the schedule, so I'm sure they'll figure out something. I mean, I would think that something that I would actually be really excited to see and really interested to see is, if worse comes to worse, they could find a place to do it here in the United States.
That would be interesting.
Stick them in the Everglades or the Ozarks or something like that. I mean, I would find that really interesting, probably just because at this point, it's like been how long since we had anywhere other than Fiji? It's been like 7 or 8 seasons in a row.
Dude, and I didn't mind Guatemala. I mean, they were near that big body of water. Like put them somewhere like that. Of course, give them a water well, do all that stuff. But let's change scenery again. If you want to make a change, go back to something like that. I like that idea a lot.
I mean, I understand. And the fact that keeping it in one place, probably enables them to cut down on their production costs quite a bit. And so, as Survivors gone on quite a big fan base, but not, 20 million people watching the premiere episode after the Super Bowl like you had in the early days.
Yeah. All right. So last thing I want to
that's what it takes for Survivor to keep going. I'm fine with that, but.
Yeah. Last thing I want to touch on. So let's say we do get a season here in the fall. Maybe we put it in the Everglades, like you're saying. In Edge of Extinction, they brought back 2 players, 3. It was 4 players, right? It was Aubrey, it was Joe, it was Kelly, and was there one other person? It was just 3. It might have been 3.
David Wright.
David, yes, dude, I love David. I liked him. Let's say you get to bring back 4 players. Who do you want to see come back like that? Who do you want to see one more time, get another crack at it?
Well, that's a tough question because, to a certain extent, I'm not really a big fan of that way of doing it. I think it'd be kind of all or nothing with returners, or at the very least, make it like a fans versus favorites.
Yeah, that worked
thing,
out.
Where there's a tribe of returnees. You're to see return to the game at this point. I would really want to see probably Rick Devens.
Yeah, got to.
I think a lot of people would say that.
I think I'm putting Christian from David vs. Goliath. I think I need him back.
Christian's definitely up there. I would probably pick Dominic from the season before from Ghost Island, just because he came so close to winning.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Oh shoot. Oh, Zach, are you there? Did I lose you?
Have you been here?
Oh, sorry. I lost you there for a sec.
Can you hear me?
I got you. You're good. Yeah, I
Okay,
mean...
So, yeah. From a female standpoint, somebody who I would really like to see back is Sydney from Co Wrong from Michelle's season.
Okay.
I think she was a really great player. I know that she has said, it would have to be the right timing for her to come back because of how much going on Survivor the first time interfered with her bodybuilding career, since I guess that's what she does for a living. But she was a really entertaining player to me. I thought she had a really unique way of being able to read people's body language and just kind of socially, work within the game.
Yeah,
and
I think it wouldn't be crazy to bring Kelly Kim back. I mean, Kelly was a big part of Island of the Idols, and she was an interesting one because there was such a crazy story that was around that season.
Yeah.
That season will be remembered for Kelly Kim,
mainly for that, which is kind of sad.
Which is sad.
I think she has said publicly that she is not interested in playing again.
Yeah.
But that was probably pretty soon after, that whole season happened. And it was, we could get into, the way CBS handled that. Obviously, it was just kind of unfortunate, uncomfortable situation for her to be in on many levels. But, if we're talking people from that season
Elaine
coming back, Elaine or Janet, I would like to see Elaine or Janet back. I think either of them.
I think Nora's the right amount of crazy. Nora was pretty wild too.
There's
a lot of good characters in that season. I like Dean.
One of my wildest dream seasons of Survivor is them bringing all of the most volatile and crazy people back to the island one more time. And
what was the name of the Brazilian the Brazilian fireball?
Ave Maria.
Yes, we have to have her in there.
Dragon, yeah, she would have to be on there.
I want Russell Hantz. I want Russell Hantz with his nephew as well.
We need Brandon Hantz back. We need Coach Philip Shepard,
Rodney,
Debbie Warner, the whole 9 yards. Chaos cast. Give it to me.
And then I want people in there too, like Keith, to just be great spectators. He would be an amazing spectator to just sit there and just say the craziest things about these people.
Yeah, just put one sane narrator. Put Jonathan Penner on the tribe with all the crazy people.
Dude,
for him to just be everybody is going insane.
Shout out Penner. Yeah. One thing I do want to say before we wrap up, dude. I think Boston Rob. I think he wants to come for Jeff Probst's throne of host one day. I don't know.
Yep.
I felt it this season. I don't know why. Just of course, how much the game means to him. But if something like that happened, I would not. Jeff to me is my hero. He is perfect. He is amazing.
He's almost 60 years old.
Yeah.
So
but he looks the same. Dang.
Yeah, he looks amazing. The Botox is obviously working. But ultimately, at some point, I feel like if we want Survivor to continue, far into the future, I think that's going to have to be something, unless people want to see Survivor end with Jeff Probst. Obviously, somebody else is going to have to take the reins. And
yeah,
I personally can't think of anybody better suited who understands the game and
even just have some sort of hand in the game. I mean, I liked Island of the Idols. I just felt like it was a little too much. But of just like sort of producing or coming up with challenges or something like because Rob is such this icon to the game. I think more so than anyone in Survivor, even though he only has X amount of wins, one win
out of 5 times.
Yeah, and it's but he's still so loved and so cheered for,
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
because if you go back and watch, Survivor All Stars, he is not likable at all. Right. He is. But then from there, they had their own Rob and Amber show and went on The Amazing Race multiple times, and now he's come back to Survivor, multiple times again.
I think it's probably that he's the most willing to come back. I bet you they want to make some of these other guys like icons too, but they maybe just don't want to come back, or it does take a mental, clearly that was an interesting thing this season too, is that Survivor takes a mental toll on people. And hearing about that of coming back from losing that season, I felt awful, or feeling like I didn't earn it, or this and that. I would love to see a documentary on Survivor, like The Last Dance, but Survivor. The Last Torch. Call it.
Jeff Probst would love to have Cochrane Island, where
right,
a giant statue of Cochrane, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Can't get it. All right, well, Zach, thanks so much, dude, for coming on, talking Survivor. Dude,
Anytime.
You're big into the challenge too, right? You've been telling me to get into that for a while.
Challenge is still going. Little more trashy than Survivor. A little heavier on the hookups and the drama and kind of the MTV aspect, but still pretty entertaining. The entertaining aspect of that show is the fact that it's the same people coming back over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
So, just the evolving dynamics and the, decade-long storylines between these people, and it's entertaining. It'll be a suitable replacement on Wednesday nights to look forward to. Not as big a deal as Survivor, but gotta find something in the off season.
It'll do. Well, thanks, Zach, for coming on.
Of course.
You are at Zach Zoda on Instagram. You got a great Twitter. One of my favorite follows on Twitter, actually. You got some funny stuff on there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Hey, you stay safe out there, all right?
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on the DBM. We're going to get you back. I promise. Hey, you're on Letterboxd too, dude. We talk about Letterboxd a lot on here.
I'm on Letterboxd. I've been slacking off on watching movies lately, but I've been trying to expand my palette of film.
Exactly. So. Dude, yeah, anyone I see on Letterboxd, that's always a win. Thanks, Zach, for coming on, dude. We'll talk soon.
All right. See you, buddy.
Later.
When you think of dominant, this is everyone's first thought. I mean, he's the guy that everyone knows his name.
Real talk.
Okay, real talk, though?
Hey, real talk, though.
Hey, real talk.
Hey, real talk, though, man.
Hey, yeah, real talk, though.
Well, welcome into Real Talk. This last week, another finale. It was the final 2 episodes of The Last Dance, aired on ESPN, the Michael Jordan documentary based on his 6 rings he won with the Chicago Bulls and all the ups and downs that came with it. Shay Real, welcome in. Are you excited to talk about The Last Dance?
Of course. Anytime I have the pleasure and privilege to be on here, I'm always excited.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. Now, Shay, The Last Dance ended, and it seems as though it's pretty mixed on how people feel about it. I'm curious, definitely, how you feel about it, because I definitely feel mixed. Just spitball. What did you think of The Last Dance in total, episodes 1 to 10?
Yeah, I'm pretty mixed as well, actually. I thought there were some great moments, and I thought there were some moments where it was kind of just like, okay,
Right.
I thought that, the last two episodes, in my opinion, were two of the better ones. Just tying everything together. Winning his last two rings. With all that, but I think as a whole, I definitely see why it was mixed. I think I mentioned this in our group message. It was a 10 episode puff piece on Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
There was no bad. Anytime they got him talking about something negative or something bad he's ever done in his career, it was kind of spun in a different light or put a positive spin on it. And, you saw some of his former teammates come out, like Horace Grant and, really kind of rip into Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. It's funny because, what that was about was Michael Jordan kind of outing Horace Grant on leaking information to a book like over 20, 25 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So, why does he have to come out and say that stuff now? And, whether it's true or not, I thought Horace Grant made a great point about it. But overall, I think it was okay. I mean, it was something we needed at a time like this. But something that I kind of thought about the other day was this was supposed to come out mid-June. I wonder if there was other stuff they had in it, or I wonder if they had to remove some stuff or add some stuff at the last second to kind of make it whole.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it would have been any different. With the month or month and a half in difference and moving it up.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think for me, it was cool because you and I did not grow up in the Jordan era. We grew up in the Kobe and LeBron era, so it was great to get that little history lesson through all the wins. But yeah, man, you could definitely feel that Michael had his hands on everything that went through it. Like,
big time.
To me, it was a little like disrespectful to any other players around. Obviously, Michael 100%. Is one of the greats, but to like downplay Larry Bird the way I feel like they did, and Magic Johnson and Isaiah Thomas and Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing, all Charles these players, Barkley. Like these were still amazing players. Yes, they were in Michael's shadow, but Gary Payton, even the whole Gary Payton thing, I'm like
he laughed about him. Like
he laughed about it, and we got some great memes out of this documentary, but to me, it was like clear Jordan thing, and maybe he wanted to right some wrongs about maybe his father's death or his gambling or his quitting or the flu game. It just felt like Michael wanted to go, hey, I am the greatest. And I'm gonna remind you of that because they didn't show him quit again after the 1998 season, because that's what I want to see. Why did you come back? Why did you come back to a rebuilding team when you didn't want to rebuild with the Bulls?
Exactly.
Usually a documentary dives deeper into a certain issue. To me, this was a highlight reel in a lot of ways, which was great, which was what we wanted, and which was so cool to relive, but didn't give me anything new about Michael that blew me away. His teammates, the Steve Kerr story, the Scottie Pippen, the Dennis Rodman, the Phil Jackson, those were the stories that I was blown away by.
B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant, all those guys. But 100%. You're right, though. I don't know if I would label it a doc. I don't know if it was a documentary.
Yes, 100%.
You know what I'm saying? It was just like a one-person, like, I'm going to talk and I'm going to tell you how I feel or how I see things.
And you know what's funny?
It was a one-person point of view type of thing.
Yeah. All these ESPN 30 for 30s and, like OJ, Made in America, maybe that's one of the best documentary. Yeah, exactly.
Ever.
Go and watch. That is a pure, great documentary. And then any of the 30 for 30s on the Hurricanes, on Reggie versus the Knicks, on the Red Sox comeback. These are all like deep dives into the surface level of what we know about these sporting events, but it goes deeper and it says, here's what was happening. And with this, man, it felt like it was a puff piece, like you're saying. And I think if you're a Jordan homer, or maybe our parents are, or just people who don't like LeBron, you love it, and you love The Last Dance because it's a great reminder of who the GOAT is. But to me, as a documentary, and I had a friend who's not into sports. She said the same thing. She was like, it's cool, and we learned about Michael's impact, but I don't know if I know Michael better because of it. We knew he was a dog when it came to competitiveness, but didn't really give us anything new.
So, like, two of my favorite examples of why I don't think this was like a documentary. When I think it was the Eastern Conference Finals, maybe the semifinals when they're playing the Knicks, and like in between games, he like goes to Atlantic City,
right
at midnight, and he's just like, oh, I just needed to get away. When really, no, you're addicted to gambling. You know what I'm saying? Or when he punched Steve Kerr in practice, and he spun it like, oh, I'm just trying to get the most out of my teammates. Like what?
Well,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
and if you compare him going to Atlantic City to Dennis Rodman going to the WCW, like we look at Dennis Rodman, we're like, oh, what a crazy guy! Like there's something wrong with him. But with Michael, it's just like, oh, he can do whatever he wants.
I needed to get away. I needed to clear my head. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on.
Yeah, man.
But it was definitely, like I said, I think it was something we definitely needed right now, something to talk about. You watch TV and you got Jalen Rose talking like Michael Jordan would drop like 48 a night in today's NBA. So I mean, it's giving people something to talk about. But you're right. It was absolutely a puff piece, and it's funny because Sunday night after episode 10, ESPN.com ran like a poll on like between him and LeBron, like who's a better passer, who's a better scorer, who's a better this, that, and the other. And like two of my favorite were like better person off the court and better dresser off the court. And like Jordan won every category, but it's like,
sheesh.
It's just like people are like living like, oh, I'm just getting off this Michael Jordan high school, Jordan. Yeah. But it's like, you see what Michael Jordan wears off the court. Like, come on, man.
Yeah,
he's wearing parachute pants. Pants. Like, come on. But it's just like to get, and if the story about him releasing this after LeBron came back from 3-1 was true, then I could totally see like it all makes perfect sense because this was
for it to
all
be
just
released in like late June when LeBron could have won a title this year.
Exactly,
come and swoop out some thunder. Yeah,
it all makes perfect sense. Like it's just him trying to like still trying to be competitive or whatever he's trying to do. Like people know who he is. People know what he was. It's just people are finally seeing like, hey, LeBron's a bad dude. Like he could go down as the greatest of all time, and it's just Jordan, trying to reaffirm that no, I'm Jordan. This is what I can do. This is what I did.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's definitely mixed. I think in the grand scheme of things,
absolutely,
this might be a doc that people will not like come back to. Like I don't think it's one that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna show my kids this one day. Like this was huge. It might be a good but.
OJ Made in America, like I want. It was like
Oscar winning.
Was it like 20 hours?
Yeah, no, I think it was 10 hours like this. It was 10 episodes. 10?
I thought it was more for some reason, but I'd absolutely watch that again in a heartbeat. It was that good. Amazing. But like this, you're right. I don't know if I would.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff. It's
And another thing, like we'll probably never hear Michael Jordan come out and like publicly talk about this documentary. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, I don't think he'll tie up any questions. I don't think he'll answer any questions people have, or like, I don't, tie up any loose ends that may be out there. Like, I think it is what it is. You're going to take it for what it is at face value, and that's that.
Yeah, and it, like, of course, reignites the LeBron versus Jordan conversation because, even you and I, like, we're a lot more aware of, how Jordan was in his early years, and, we got to see a little more of that. I think
and that was great. Don't get me wrong, but
and like I think for me, what I learned is, man, Michael is still closed off. He had ESPN. He had an amazing documentary, all eyes on him at this time because of the pandemic and whatnot, and still did not let us in. Meanwhile, I can pull up Instagram right now and see LeBron doing TikTok dances with his daughter and his sons, and I can see more into LeBron and his heart and his like. What his dreams are and his hopes are for things, and to me that's why I connect with LeBron better, but also being able to see him overcome some crazy adversity to lose in tough situations, but also win in crazy situations as well. I don't know. I think
you're absolutely right.
As ball players, we'll never be able to know, if Kobe and Michael went one-on-one, who would win, or this and that, but like I don't know, just overall eyeball test and knowing who they are as humans or whatnot. Like competitiveness is cool, but man, punching your teammate in the face. Yeah.
Here's another thing that like this question has been brought up like since this whole documentary started. Like the Bulls would not have won 8 straight titles if he didn't retire. Like that needs like they would not have won 8 straight. one, you saw how tired he was
Yeah.
after that first three-peat, how burnt out he was. And I don't think they would beat Houston regardless, because I've read like numerous NBA players, former NBA players, come out and talk about like Hakeem Olajuwon is like the only player he feared, but like he'd never publicly admit that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I want more of that. Like I want more of his like, tell me what you did fear. Tell me like your thoughts on this, on
human.
that. Like
be human.
Exactly. This did not make him human in any way, shape, or form.
100%. Which is like, I think he wants. I think he wants us to think he's God and whatnot. And you know what? On the court, dude, he's pretty close.
You're absolutely right.
But yeah, they didn't highlight that his baseball career was not a good baseball career. They still made it look like he was doing
exactly. They were saying like, oh, he was hitting these pitches like, you know, his first 2 months here, he was swinging the bat great. And it's like, dude, everything I've read and heard suggests otherwise.
Yeah. Dude, and hey, Russell Wilson and Tim Tebow can also go out for spring training and play well too, and show up and wear the jersey, sell tickets. That's awesome.
Exactly.
But to me, I don't know. All in all, I was thankful for The Last Dance. I do think we got to see some really cool stuff, dude.
Yeah.
To me, the highlight though is that security guard that beat him in whatever coin gambling game that was, dude. He did the shrug. Yeah. I would watch a documentary on just that guy, because who is he? And we need more of him.
Did you see that? There was like a thread I saw, and you might have sent it, where it was like,
oh, the biopic, yes.
Yeah, and like the characters.
Dude, yeah, if they turned The Last Dance into a movie, it was like Mahershala Ali as Michael Jordan.
Yeah, and like Jonah Hill as that security guard.
Yes.
Oh, no, he would have been. He was Jerry Krause.
Jerry Krause, yes.
Will Ferrell was the security guard.
Yes.
But I just want to know why his eyes are so yellow.
Yeah, I had a friend who his son asked him that too. He's like, Dad, why are his eyes yellow? And it's just like, we don't know.
I don't know, man. Those are the questions I want answered.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good on The Last Dance, Shay. I want to throw one more thing at you, real quick. I always try to surprise you. As a prolific podcast host, something came up in the news that I want to talk about. Joe Rogan signed a pretty huge deal. Spotify, $100 million. And you made a pretty good point in our chat the other day. What did you think of this deal? And I don't know what it means for podcasts going forward.
That's big time, man. That's big time for him. That's big time for Spotify, especially. I mean, they're gonna reap all those benefits. But my question is, like, how is it gonna work? Is he gonna be on Spotify Premium?
Right.
Like, how are the ads gonna work? Like, I'm sure a lot of his.
Yeah. Will it not be like, oh, I can't watch his clips on YouTube, or it'll go to a different chat, or if I'm on Apple Podcasts, I can't find Joe Rogan there because he's only on Spotify.
Correct. Yeah. So it's interesting because, like, you know, I don't know how a lot of his listeners are, but you know, how many of his listeners are going to make that transition? Right. I'm sure they will. I'm sure, you know, they're figuring something out, but that's a big deal, man. Especially, you know, in terms of like, because I think his podcast is generally like top 1, 2, or 3 on Apple Podcasts. So you're going to start seeing more and more of like the heavy hitter podcasters, you know, seek out these big deals, and you know, what's that going to do now?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. This wave of podcasts is still growing, and
it's only getting bigger.
And especially as this stay-at-home order, you know, is still alive in some of these places. You know, you're gonna see more and more podcasts, right? You made a comment about one Sirius XM host.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Howard Stern.
I can quote you. Yeah, you said Howard Stern walked
so Joe Rogan could run.
Yes, exactly.
But it's kind of true because when he made that jump from terrestrial radio to satellite radio, that was like you know, unheard of. That nobody was doing that. Yeah. And it's funny because you know I've gone back and read some things. A lot of people were really skeptical about how that would work. No one wanted to pay for satellite radio. No one wanted to get Sirius. You know. But look at it now. I mean, that's paid huge dividends to Sirius XM. Now they own Pandora. It's huge now. So I mean, I'm sure that's what will happen with Joe Rogan and Spotify. But this is the podcast market is gonna. I think it just flips upside down. Like people are going to be expecting huge payouts for some of the top podcasters, and whatever happens with that. I mean, eventually, like radio is going to be gone. Like terrestrial radio, FM, AM. that's going to be gone at some point. Because, I talked to a lot of my coworkers. They mainly listen to podcasts while they work. So many people are doing that now that it's just, I think the podcast game has completely changed with this deal.
Yeah. And it'll, dude, it's so interesting. I was watching a Rogan clip, and I know you mentioned you watched a lengthy Rogan clip too. Dude, the show is so simple. It is literally two cameras and him
That's all it is.
with no plan. I'm gonna spitball with this interesting guy. I don't care if he's an astrophysicist, a UFC fighter, an actor, or whatever. Like, we're gonna go back and forth for hours.
That's all.
We might get high, and we're just gonna just roll,
hang out and talk.
And we're gonna randomly throw up a clip of some baboons, throwing the feces at each other, yeah. So it's interesting. I think Spotify is going to do well with this. I think this is a good deal for Spotify as well as Joe, unless he gets mad.
My question is, do you think Spotify is going to maybe change some of his format? I don't think they will. Right. But, when they're controlling the name and they're controlling the podcast, they can do whatever they want, really. You know, you sign that deal. Yeah. And my question is how this is going to affect YouTube. Because one of our buddies, Michael, he mentioned last night, they were already removing most of his shows and clips off YouTube.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I know that I was reading last night, this brought up some questions about, censorship on YouTube and, what they're allowing content-wise and... Yeah. I don't know if that had anything to do with the deal or I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Across the board, too. And I think YouTube plays in a big factor for even a lot of these late night hosts and whatnot. People are tuning into the clips the next day. No one's got cable really anymore, right? And then even I have a friend who was talking about The Herd. He loves Colin Cowherd, and my brother loves Dan Patrick. And when he can't catch the full show, he's going to go to the YouTube. Yeah, he'll watch the interview or the monologue or whatever it is on YouTube. And Rogan's good with that too. I watched the clip today that was
millions of views.
Yeah.
So I wonder how that's going to play because I'm sure he has to be getting paid off that. Mm-hmm. One way or another, bringing so much traffic to YouTube. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is going to completely change the podcast market because we talked about it. You mentioned quarantine, working from home stuff. I think you might have mentioned it when this first started, microphones for, this type of thing were sold out, so many people are trying to do these things and this is just going to inspire probably more people.
Yeah, dude. And he's got a passionate following and a lot of people.
Oh, big time.
I've seen a lot of shows. I mean, even a lot of what I try to do is it duplicates because he's the model right now of how do you make a great show. And it really revolves around his personality and the fact that he gets great guests. But yeah, you can't deny it. He's one of the best.
And that's a testament to what he's been able to build.
Yeah. Yep, and he's just going to continue to get popular. Hopefully, I saw someone say, I hope that he's still involved in the UFC. I imagine he had to have said, hey, I can still do UFC stuff.
I imagine so.
That's huge, because the UFC is growing in popularity even more than it has. It's always been on an upward swing, but with COVID and whatnot. Fight Island? Are you kidding me? If that really does happen, it could be monstrous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Shay, thanks for coming on again, man, dude. For just popping on, being a champ, dude. Short notice, doesn't matter. You're ready. You're ready to talk.
I'm ready. You let me know 30 minutes beforehand, and I was ready.
Hey, you were ready. You're always ready for some real talk. You guys staying safe down there in Arizona? You guys starting to reopen?
I mean, as safe as things are starting to reopen, but I go to work every single day, and I have been since it's open. I try to tell people, I'm only as safe as I can possibly be. Right. Being out every day, but we're doing our best. Things are opening up. We'll see what happens.
You watching any new shows? You got any shows playing, starting, or anything like that? Any movies that you've been revisiting? I know you're a big fan of The Sopranos, dude, and I feel like I've seen a few people say that they're going back watching these classics that they've missed.
It's funny because I kind of want to go back and watch The Sopranos. I've watched it through twice now, but I do want to rewatch it for a third time.
Yeah.
I love it. I like that genre. I like that, that whole thing. So for me, I have been running to rewatch that. There's a couple other shows I've been wanting to watch. I kind of want to start Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah. That's another one.
I've wanted to start that. And as far as a couple movies go, Joker was just added to Amazon, I think.
Oh, that's huge.
So I've been wanting to watch that. I want to watch The Lighthouse. I know you mentioned that the other day.
That's crazy, yeah.
So yeah, there's some things I'm wanting to watch. It's funny because like ever since this whole thing started, like I feel like I haven't been watching as much TV, and it's like the opposite for most people. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, and you're not stuck at home where you need to fill your time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely a little different.
Exactly. You know, I am still going out every day, so
yeah.
I do want to rewatch that.
Always serving the people.
And as hard as I'll try for the rest of my life, but I want you to watch The Sopranos. I know it's a commitment.
Yeah.
I know it's hard, but it's long.
And I'm not great with shows.
I know you're not. I know you're not. You're a movie guy.
I'm a movie guy. It's true. Hold on. Last thing, dude.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you.
No,
in your honor, I did watch Back to the Future from beginning to end for the first time in my life the other night.
Wow.
So that was for you.
How do you feel? Give us a little review, right?
I mean, I've seen most. You know, I've seen most of it. But that was the first time I've ever seen it from start to finish. And I kind of read some stuff up on it. I think it's crazy that the song. I can't think of the song in the movie, but the Huey Lewis and the News song.
Yeah.
But like, when's the last time a movie had like a hit song like that was playing before the movie came out? You had a star actor, Michael J. Fox. You had a star director, Robert Zemeckis, with Steven Spielberg. And then just the hit it was, like, when's the last time, like, all that came together, or how often does it happen?
Yeah, I was actually just watching the John Mulaney bit, great comedian John Mulaney, where he talks about even the idea of pitching that movie, of like, hey, we have a cool teenage boy, and his best friend is a deranged scientist. It's like, oh, is it his teacher? No, it's not his teacher.
It's just an older guy he hangs out with.
And it's never explained. Never. Not even a hint of, oh, remember when I picked you up that one day?
It's
never
not
explained. But yet
he just shows up at his house and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like one of the best relationships in movies. Like people think like the best duos. No reason why they should be friends. A rock star teenager who skateboards with a defamed scientist, mad scientist. Pretty crazy. Then he goes back in time and he makes out with his mother. Like, who's selling that movie and who's buying it? Universal did, and they are probably very grateful. But that's good that you picked it up. Some iconic scenes in there, man. That Johnny Be Good right there at the end.
I love that. That's one of my favorite scenes.
It's a good scene. It's a good scene, yeah.
Hey, Chuck, it's your cousin.
Yeah, Marvin Berry, my great uncle, actually. Yeah. Wait, Shay. Last thing, I can't let you leave without you commenting on a huge single that was dropped today. Kendall Roy, L to the OG from Succession, man. I knew there was a full song in there somewhere. We got a little bit of it.
I gotta find that jersey, man.
Dude, I gotta get that jersey.
For those of you who are listening to this that don't watch Succession, please watch Succession.
That's a good one. We can agree on that. Yeah, good
it's
HBO.
Great. I love it.
Yeah.
It's great, especially in these times. And
yeah. If you're sick of your family, go spend time with the Roys.
With the Roy family. That conglomerate.
It'll put you in a different mood. Tom Wamscans is my favorite. I love Cousin Greg, like Cousin top to
Greg.
Bottom. It's
the egg, baby. I'm so grateful that was put out because we've talked about the opening before. The opening is great.
Yeah,
it's great for a TV show. Yeah. So that just adds to that. That just adds to that, that great music.
Yeah, Kendall Roy. What a character arc Kendall Roy went through. All right, it's a relatable character arc on my end. That's for sure.
Oh, big time.
All right, Shay, I'll let you get out of here. Thanks so much for serving the people, for giving us some real hot takes, and we'll hear from you again soon.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure. Be safe out there in LA.
Hey, I always do. Happy Memorial Day, buddy.
You as well, baby. You as well.
All right, later, man.
Later, man.
Hey, that's great. That was perfect. Phenomenal.
Damn, that was 26 minutes.
Well, there we go. That was a nice full episode. Thank you to Zach and to Shay for coming on and talking about these shows that we get so invested in, that we love. Hope everyone at home is doing the same. If you're looking for a show, I actually just also finished Love on Netflix again for the third time. It's another great show that I love. It's on Netflix only. It's called Love. All right, it's gonna be hard to find. You're actually gonna have to look a little bit. It came out a few years ago. Just finished it. Touched my heart. I watched Outer Banks on Netflix as well. That show is bad. We can talk about that another time. Maybe I'll debate. I got some other debates coming up, actually. One that hit my head today. I'm going to post on my Instagram soon, and we're going to get the poll going again. We'll probably do another Stiller versus Rudd-esque thing, maybe make some tweaks. But yeah, go watch Love. I just started Normal People too on Hulu. Heard great things. Check back in on what I think about that as well. But hey, thanks so much for tuning in to Hey Dylan. And dude, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Give a little review. Heart us on Anchor. So glad to be with you. Stay safe, everybody.